Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there. Welcome to the program. I'm going to try to keep it together. I'm not feeling it together, that is. I don't know why, but somehow last night when I pulled myself away from the voice, when I reminded myself that there was a big primary going on or two, that I should, check out the who was winning and who was losing. And so I switched over, and what came up on my screen was Donald Trump in full I thought, well, actually, I'll tell you what my notes are. I immediately grabbed for my little reporter's notebook, and the first words I wrote, because I was confused. It was a big, well, many of you saw it. There he was, and he was pointing at reporters and taking questions. And I wrote, oh my God, OMG, Trump doing live presser on CNN, prime time. My confusion was, a presser is what we call a press conference. What I was surprised about was that it looked to me like a press conference. It did not look like a candidate coming out after an election and either claiming victory or, acknowledging defeat. It didn't have that look at all. And I was confused. I thought, well, okay. I stayed with it. And then I thought, this is prime time. Why are they just letting him have their airwaves like this? There are other candidates out there. Hillary Clinton had just won Mississippi. They didn't go to her. We didn't even see her. So I thought, it was CNN I was looking at, and I thought, surely MSNBC is not giving him all this. Checked MSNBC. Oh, yeah. With no commentary. Just here, Donald, have all of our Fox, MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, all of them simply handed their airwaves to Donald Trump last night in prime time for almost an hour, while there was news to report. I was blown away by that. I was blown away by that decision. And I thought, am I so out of it now that everything I learned about the responsibility of media, television particularly, is now out the window? It is not the job of CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and anybody else to pick the winners and losers. It is their job to report on what the people were doing last night or yesterday in all of those election contests. And consequently, since when I was watching Trump for almost an hour, thank you very much to all the networks, there was a huge story breaking, which was given no coverage at all. There was a little crawl at the bottom of one of them had a crawl that Bernie Sanders was leading Hillary Clinton in Michigan. That was a huge story. That was a huge story. But Donald Trump was busy insulting a reporter, making fun of the reporter, saying absurd things, the things he says. And instead, that's what CNN and all the others. And I have to tell you, he is truly a dangerous man. And what's scarier to me is our media, our corporatized media, just handing over their huge stages to him, abdicating their responsibility to cover the news. It was a big news night. He was a big story. Yeah, Trump's back. All those reports as usual about, he's finished. He's going down. They're finally getting somewhere, the Stop Trump movement, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, again, wrong. That's a story. But you don't hand your damn network over to him to do not just an acceptance speech. That wasn't an accept. Maybe it started out as I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I'm the this, I'm the that. But then he went into a news conference, starts calling, and the subject matter was ranging all over. This now was a Trump selling event. They were allowing him a commercial, essentially, of prime time of 45 minutes, an hour. I don't know. And part of me I was arguing in my head. I was saying, well, no, they're all staying with it because the American people need to see him. They need to see this. And then I thought, no, they know it. They know it. This is strengthening him. The networks are playing right into his game plan. They are strengthening him. I've never seen anything like what I saw last night. And what amazed me is nobody saying anything until, thank God, so that I didn't think I had lost my mind. Finally, when Trump decided to leave the room and the cameras finally went back to the studios, and then all those networks immediately ran off to commercial breaks because they had not broken away for 1 second from Trump's bleatings and blatherings and insults and craziness. And so then all the networks at the same time were showing like about a 5-6 minute block of commercials. Finally, MSNBC has their people back on and they're talking. They had David Axelrod. He didn't say anything about the fact that he just sat there at MSNBC while they waited for Donald to finally give them whatever time was left. But Van Jones, God bless him, Van Jones was having the same kind of moment I was. He was stunned. he was outraged. Let me see. I tried to scribble down exactly when he finally got his mic turned on. He said, and it was the first time he had an opportunity to talk after the Trump show. And he said, "What was that freak show?" He said, "Freak show." He called it an infomercial. We just carried a freak show infomercial. He said, "That is inappropriate. I have stronger words for it." And thank God he said it. No one else picked up on it. No one on the panel picked up on it. He was as apoplectic as I. He said, "Since when? When do we allow, the network, the guys who own the stage, when have we ever allowed a candidate to take over and to turn a victory speech?" We all know what victory speeches look like, sound like. Turn a victory speech into a news conference / infomercial that we hang on until he finally leaves the room, ignoring all other news. I'm sorry. No one seems to... Van Jones and I might be the only two people who see this for what it is. And I am telling you, this is dangerous. And meanwhile, while all that's going on, there's a big story going on. These guys have forgotten they're there to cover the news. CNN's coverage, finally, when they got back to covering what was happening in Michigan, they kept Wolf Blitzer, kept trying to minimize the fact that Sanders was ahead. He kept saying, "Oh, well, yeah, this is a little surprising here, but of course we got so many precincts still out, and these are heavily favored for Clinton, and so we can't, I don't think this is going to hold." I tweeted, I told myself, and boy, talk about the voices in a voice in my head, do not tweet, you're too upset, it'll be like crazy garble. And I still did. And I tweeted something like that if Trump wins, if he, God forbid, becomes president of the United States, the midwives of the birth of this monster will have been the news networks. And then a good friend of mine, reading that tweet, tweeted back to me, "Remember what Doug Hirth always said, that the networks are only there to sell soap." Which is true. We were talking about that yesterday, about how they're there to collect eyeballs so that then they can sell the soap that the soap manufacturers give them money for, right? And I tweeted back, "Yeah, he was right, sell soap. But now they're selling fascism." They were allowing Trump to have the store. They abdicated all journalistic responsibility last night. Every single one of them made the same choice. MSNBC, the liberal one, CNN, the supposedly moderate one, and Fox, the conservative one. Because he is money in the bank. The fact of the matter is, if any one of them had cut away from that and gone to Hillary's victory speech, which was going on at the same time in Mississippi, they knew they would lose their audience. Because her speech was, it was an acceptance speech. And a person seeing that would say, "I got to get back to that Trump show." So all of them make the same calculation, and it is based only on holding those eyeballs, holding their audience. And they all know that Trump holds their audience. So they are now part and parcel of the juggernaut that he is creating. And this is where Mr. Trump, the reality star, has just a visceral knowledge of how this works. He's got the networks essentially working for him. I'll tell you, back in the 30s in Germany, if Hitler and his cohorts had this kind of, if there'd been cable TV, man, that would have saved them a few years. They could have caused a lot more trouble and a lot faster, and probably managed to wipe out a whole millions more people. And then, as if the night wasn't bad enough, the fact that Hillary lost Michigan underscores, and understand, she lost Michigan, but she won last night because that was a tight race. Bernie just edged her, and she clobbered him in Mississippi. She walked away last night with the lion's share of delegates. And that's all it's about, too. Let's understand what the prizes are. The popular vote, delegates. But what it exposed is the reality that the Democratic Party is having the same kind of pushback that the Republican Party is having. There are a lot of Democrats who are fed up, who agree with Bernie Sanders that the whole damn thing is rigged. They are not inclined to vote right now for somebody who's the same old establishment. We know what Hillary Clinton will be like. People really want to blow it up. Now, I'm really starting to wonder, watching Trump and how she's not a strong I'm beginning to think, and he's getting more confident. He is, at one point I wrote down fearless, and then I thought, don't call him fearless, because it seems like it's a virtue or something. But he's fearless like the narcissist, egomaniacal creep that he is. He is totally feeling in control. And I'll tell you what, he has reason to. I just want to say to all of those who keep saying he can't win, that how many times do you have to hear people say that and be proven wrong before you stop saying it? For all the times that people have said Hillary Clinton is not a very good candidate, she might be a wonderful president in many ways, although she will represent the same old corporatized establishment, bought and sealed government. She will. I don't know. And Trump, at one point in his show that was carried on all networks last night, Trump said, in a very quiet voice for him, a voice that, again, exuded, I'm in control here, okay? He said, I wrote it down. He was talking about the fact, look, Cruz ain't gonna beat me. Little Marco is toast. And then he said to all the Republicans who want to stop him, I say to the Republicans, he said, embrace it. Embrace it. We will. He's talking about himself in the royal we now. We will win this election easily. He believes it. And now I feel a fool if I question it. Quite clearly, all the people we are used to listening to make sense of things for us, to help us arrive at maybe even our own ideas, are as flummoxed, are as mouths agape as we. The pollsters who we're supposed to believe in, not a one of them called Michigan for Sanders. Not a one. She was supposed to win there rather comfortably. And also the narrative that what took her down there is the free trade issue. And that is a little iffy because if you look at who voted for Sanders and who voted for her, the people who voted for her, she still walked away with most of white working class Democratic voters. Those would be exactly the guys who, if the free trade narrative and the anti-NAFTA narrative is what's driving Sanders' numbers in Michigan, they would have voted for him. I don't think Sanders can beat her in the primaries because of the superdelegates, because of the math. It isn't doable. But she will be a nominee that will be beaten up. She will be a nominee who will be weakened. She will be a nominee who has proven that something's wrong. As I said, something's wrong with her ability to win. You know all that stuff you crammed into your head in school? All those classes you took in college, let's say. Think of all that. Think of all the money, too. Well, we didn't spend that much money back in the day. Think of all that information. How much have you retained? Really, what do you think? I don't even think 1%. I think you're left with a feeling. You're left with these sort of vague senses. I always point to, there was a political science class I took, that one statement that the professor made somehow just, bang, stuck in my head. Because for some reason, the truth of it blew me away, and I'd never heard anybody say it before. But he was talking about presidential politics. And he said, the strange thing is, and I've shared this before with you, the strange thing is that the very qualities that might make somebody a very good campaigner are the very qualities that would also not make them a good president. That the qualities that make someone a good campaigner are totally different qualities than the qualities required once they attain the job. So our system rewards the winner, the one who can figure out how to win the race. Our system does not allow us to easily vote for who is the most capable, competent. The skills required to win have nothing whatsoever to do with the skills to govern. Every once in a while, the two come together enough that you actually elect a person who is up to the job. Well, guys, I don't know. That's pretty much all I have to say. And if you want to jump in here, feel free. We have a call. Hello, caller.
Funny thing is as I was dialing, you said basically what I was going to say.
You go ahead and say it anyway.
The two things come together every once in a while with the president, and that's, in my opinion, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton.
Both good campaigners, both
good campaigners
capable.
And capable presidents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were really good. So.
Well, yeah, but she ain't a good campaigner.
No, definitely not.
And she also has the added baggage of being named Clinton.
Yeah, Bill's wife.
And we know her.
Mm-hmm.
And we pretty much, most people have had enough of all of it.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, just like with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the salesman, he talks stuff, and people get convinced that what he is saying is true because they repeat it enough.
That's right.
And it's the flip side for Hillary. The things that aren't true about her are repeated enough that they become true.
Yeah.
It's like the flip side.
Right.
And that's like my biggest argument with people about Hillary. Well, Hillary did this. Hillary's been accused of a lot of crap, but none of it's come true. None of it's been proven true. You got to get that nonsense. You have a feeling about Hillary. It's not Hillary.
But I mean, we see none of that.
It doesn't matter.
None of it matters.
Don't get me to say this is like something that's because I'm going to sit there and change people's minds and convince them that your feelings aren't fact, because people vote feeling.
So I have to tell you that I really now would be very worried about Trump versus Clinton.
And here's what I find to be interesting. I won't say I'm worried or not worried. It's a battle between the feelings.
Yeah, but the Trump people have feelings for him, huge feelings. And the Democrats, the voter turnout on the Democratic side has been appalling, even with Bernie in the race. I mean, Democrats are they're acting like Democrats. Yeah. They're just sitting on their fat asses.
That was my point, because it's a battle between Hillary and Bernie. They'll take either one of them. They don't care. It's the anti-Trump vote
that you think that's the only thing that will propel her to victory.
Yeah.
There are people holding their nose and voting for her because they're terrified of Trump.
Yeah, that's. And I was joking with none other than the Blovius.
Mm-hmm.
I said the anti-Trump vote. You think minorities, you think women, everybody he's insulted, Hispanics. I said you'll even see people. The disabled dragging themselves like a group of zombies to get to the polls to vote against him. There's not a group that he hasn't insulted.
No,
right. And I said, and once they see if he gets the nomination, the Democratic low vote out for this primary isn't frightening me. But that if they don't show up, the anti-Trump vote, that's the scary part. So, yeah, that's what let me just say I'm hoping for that. That's what I see happening, the anti-Trump.
Okay,
just like the big anti-Obama thing happened like in 2010. It's an anti-Obama vote. So.
Well, that anti-Obama vote was huge, but it wasn't big enough, right?
Well, I said 2010. Not 2012, 2010. Because I think that the Republicans are most scared of a huge Democratic turnout for like legislatures and governorships. That's the Trump schmump. They don't want him out just so that the Democrats don't come out in full force and just hit that Democratic button. Vote all Democrat, and they lose houses, and or at least lose the Senate. I think it's almost impossible for them to lose the House.
They cannot lose the House.
Yeah, but they lose that Senate, and you have a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate.
Let me just tell you, if Donald Trump is the president of the United States, game over. I mean, there goes the Supreme Court for the rest of my life, certainly.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, yours too.
Yeah.
There goes. I can't even imagine. And we all better start imagining, because I'm saying the media now so complicit in they're driving his bandwagon.
Mm-hmm. Like I say, not to insult the American public, but I made that joke about they think Nikes were cool. You're going to jump as high as you put on Nikes. It's that mentality. I'm going to be with the cool guy, the popular guy, the strong guy. And that's what they're not thinking politics. They're not thinking that the Supreme Court. They're not thinking any of that stuff.
They're not thinking.
They're not thinking. Because I tell people, I'm like a wonk. I like politics. Ask me anything about the Steelers, I couldn't tell you. I know Ben Roethlisberger's the quarterback. Beyond that, I don't know. I can't even remember. I keep saying Coach Cower. That's how bad I am.
Oh my God!
I know it's not Cower, but I can't remember the guy's name to save my life. When I'm like right now, I'm trying to think of it.
Come on!
I'm trying to think of it.
Come on!
He's a black guy that looks like my nephew, and I can't think of his name.
Tomlin. Mike Tomlin.
Tomlin. Yeah, there you go. There's two syllables like Cower. I was really trying to force myself to think of his name, and it would not pop into my head. But,
all right.
You talk about senators and stuff like that, but I know I'm a nerd, and most people aren't. And you, like you said, there's a good chance, unless Democrats come out in full force, that we could have a President Trump and a super conservative, ridiculously stupid Supreme Court for our lifetimes. And that's what I'm trying to get across to kids.
Well, unbelievable. I'm done laughing. I'm done. Hey, thank you, Clarence.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Jeez. Hey, speaking of the Steelers, since he brought it up, if you want a little respite, I direct you to Gene Collier's column in the sports pages of the Post-Gazette today. And he's writing about the fact that Antonio Brown of the Steelers is going to be making his dancing debut on Dancing with the Stars, I guess, I don't know, a week from Monday or something. And, of course, Hines Ward did Dancing with the Stars as well and won it and did very well. And Antonio Brown, like Hines Ward, is this charismatic, handsome, probably great dancer. We'll see. So, but Collier did I thought, a really cute, funny piece. I will just share. Wait, I haven't watched that show in so many years. Is Geraldo Rivera now on that show? Ugh! Why would they put that creep on the show? In what capacity? He must be the guy who does the interviews after. I don't know. Because that's the only thing I didn't understand. But Collier's column is cute. I'll read just one little thing. Okay. Over the years, professional football players have become a Dancing with the Stars staple, with Warren Sapp and Jason Taylor, and even temporary Steelers return specialist Jacoby Jones gracing the stage. Somebody told me Jones gained only 14 yards on 4 dances and fumbled twice, but I couldn't confirm any of that. I don't remember Jacoby Jones on. And then he says, one of the other contestants, I did not know this, on this season with Antonio Brown will be one of Donald Trump's ex-wives. You see how this all, the synergy of it all, you see how this works? Marla Maples, okay? Marla Maples will be on Dancing with the Stars as her ex-husband and his juggernaut continue apace. And Collier writes, Marla Maples, who probably is using this as the jumping off point for a Dancing with the Stars spin-off called Dancing with Trump Ex-Wives. And then he makes some remark about Geraldo Rivera being there. Is he I guess maybe he's one of the contestants. Ugh. He'll be knocked off in 1 minute in the first show. I can tell. I just know he can't dance, and he's such a creep. But Collier says this: Geraldo Rivera, still the only person I can name who had part of his butt injected into his face. And then I thought, and then he says on TV. So tell me this, since I don't troll, I'm not that much of a bottom feeder. Did Trump have, I assume, fat pulled out of his butt and inserted in maybe to plump up his jawline or something? Oh my God! Anyway, if you need a respite from the clown show to go to another kind of a clown show and not quite get away from it, because there you have Marla Maples, and Donald Trump even makes it into that story. Makes it into every story. Oh, God. You know, my friend Jean Marie Laskus, who wrote the article Concussion and then the book, which then begot the movie, she once, I think for GQ, had to spend a few days with Geraldo Rivera doing a profile on him, and was at his home with him and ended up behind him on a jet ski having to hold on to his torso. Well, anyway, all I can remember is her. Usually she would come back from these kinds of things, like, you know, being with touring with Guns N' Roses, or being spending a week with Joe Biden, or this, that, and the other thing, and regale her friends with Schwarzenegger was a great story that she told. But my takeaway, all I remember about what she said about Geraldo Rivera, was that you just wanted to run from the room and say, "Shut up! I can't hear anymore." That repulsive. And Jean is not that judgmental a person, but I think she was totally queasy by the time they didn't pay her enough for that story. Just saying. Schwarzenegger creeped her out too. And whatever. Jeez. Speaking of Biden, could he, people are saying, oh, maybe Romney, they're positioning Romney so he'll come in at the end and save us. And I'm thinking, could Joe jump in here? I'm serious. We like him. And speaking of Biden, God, every thought gets, the degree of separation is just one. So speaking of Biden, is in Israel. And no sooner had he landed in Tel Aviv than some rampaging son of a bitch is stabbing people left and right on just a few blocks away from where Biden was meeting with former President Perez. And I know the street where this happened. It happened in this wonderful section. Well, it's not Tel Aviv specifically. It's Jaffa, which is... Tel Aviv is new. Tel Aviv did not exist 60 years ago. It was built out of nothing and is, without a doubt, the most modern city in Israel. But right next door is the old city that was there, and that's Jaffa. It is so wondrous there. And what's wonderful about Jaffa is it's mostly Arab. So these are Arab Israelis. that live there, and it is so, the winding stone streets. And the thing also about Jaffa is that Israeli Jews and Israeli Arabs have coexisted there relatively well for a long, long time. So this is sad. And what this SOB did was he stabbed to death an American who was just over there with other students from Vanderbilt. He was getting his MBA from Vanderbilt. And a group of 29 students, of which he was one, went over to Israel with some of their professors, I guess, in part to learn about global entrepreneurship, which Israel is famous for. So they'd gone over to see all this entrepreneurial fervor that goes on in Israel. This guy, who's now dead, he's 28 years old, is a graduate of West Point, served in Afghanistan, made it through Afghanistan, made it through Iraq, a posting in Iraq as well. And he died on this beautiful street, walking in Jaffa, overlooking the Mediterranean. His name is Taylor Force. What a name. I read that last night, too, after watching the Trump thing, and I thought, oh, God, I just... Okay, Roger has a question. Do Trump supporters and other Republicans root for the football team in the movie Revenge of the Nerds? Well, I never saw Revenge of the Nerds, so I don't get the question. I'm sorry. If Trump becomes president, should we call him President Snow? That's from the Hunger Games. Well, I was suggesting that we are, we're getting, how science fiction often is just is prescient. It's a sneak peek into a crystal ball of where we're heading. Often. It's called science fiction until it becomes fact. And it does, as we all know, not always, but plenty of the time. Okay, what else I got here? Oh, God. You see, one thing just begets another. Hey, how about that SUV on the roof of the Giant Eagle there? Man, I wish there were video of it. And, you start thinking, well, wait, how could it end up on the roof? And then you think it's Pittsburgh. That's how it ends up on the roof, because the roof might be the same level as the next house's basement. And, that's just the way it works. So that's how. And then, of course, there's the obligatory quotes from somebody, like some guy said, I've worked at Giant Eagle for 30 years. I've never seen anything like this. And I'm thinking, well, yeah. No, I've worked all over the place for longer than that, and I've never seen anything like it either. I mean, no, none of us ever have. I happened to, shortly after finding out about the SUV on the roof, I said to my son, I'm going out to, I got to get to the Giant Eagle. He said, don't go to the Greenfield. I said, don't worry, I'm not. So I went over to another Giant Eagle, and while I was there, some manager there was saying, what's this water on the floor? What's going on here? Why is there water on the floor? And some other person said, I think there's a car on the on the roof. And everybody starts laughing. And then the guy who said that sees me and says, what happened to 4802? I thought, oh my God. He said, I loved that show. Yeah, right. Well, I didn't. I said, it's gone. Everything's gone there. The only thing that station has left is Rick Seebeck. And there's just so many, things Sweet Rick can do. God. Oh. So, guys, I am, how are we going to make it? I guess that's my problem. How are we, do you remember when I had that meltdown? I mean, I had to stop working for about 3 months. I literally came apart on the air. Do you remember that? You don't remember that. Because somebody tweeted something about, when I tweeted something last night in my rage, somebody said, uh-oh, don't melt down like you. I was thinking, was that meltdown? That was post-election, wasn't it? It was after George W. election? I always rely on other people to tell me what happened in my life because I don't know. But I do recall. I'm trying to think of, what was it? I was at WPTT. We were in an ugly, ugly period where doing 3 hours a day of ranting, raving, screaming, doing battle, blah, 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 blah. I was coming apart at the seams. I think for some people, this is a game, and they don't take it home with them. I, unfortunately, take it home. I take it to bed. I get up with it in the morning, and there was a call that put me over, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Somebody called, and I can't remember. I think it was an accusation that they said something about me being a lesbian or something, and apropos of nothing. And I went ballistic. I just went nuts. And I said, first of all, I was in the position where if I deny it, that could be perceived as me, it's one of those things, the big lie that you can't, if I deny it, would I be ashamed of, if I protest too much, and the whisper campaign about me being a lesbian has been with me my entire time in Pittsburgh because I'm a strong, loudmouth, unmarried woman who, guess what, speaks fervently and always did about gay rights. So, ergo, lesbian. Somehow, I just couldn't take it anymore, and I ended up storming out of the studio, storming into the executive producer's office and saying, I'm done. Goodbye. I'm out. And that was it. I walked off. And I think, I don't know. I don't remember when that was. I know the PG did a big story. There was a picture of me sitting at home knitting. Because I was saying I was just trying to just chill. I didn't have enough time off. I really was. It was like, I'm just worried. Yeah, this one could see me break down again. It could. I don't know. God, I hope not. Celine's looking nervously at me now. No, you can't imagine. It was so ugly. Breaking news from Ansel, who got it from ABC. Former Republican presidential candidate Carly Fiorina endorsed her one-time rival, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, today. Ugh. Oh, that'll make a big difference. Oh, that's an end game. All right, that's it. Everybody just go home now. It's over. Okay, what else we got? So Kasich, Rubio's going to get killed in Florida. Willie, with that, in a week, it's over. Pretty much. It won't be over, but I don't think there's any way they'll be able to stop him after next week if he makes the kind of run that he did last night. Oh. And what some people are saying is Rubio should get out, but the fact is, if they want to deny Donald the delegates, as many people should stay in because they, right? Because they might acquire a delegate and keep that delegate from Cruz. I don't know. That's the Republicans' problem. But if we're waiting for the Republicans to save us from Donald Trump, I wouldn't hold your breath. Kasich, meanwhile, if he doesn't win Ohio, Margie has written, I'm a lesbian, but you're no lesbian. Well, thank you, or not. I don't know what to say to that. That's the truth. I've often said I wish I were. I wish I were, but I'm not. I once spoke to a gay group. I forget what it was. But I said, you know, I get all the shit. This was like 20 years ago. I said, I get all the crap about being a lesbian. You know, the shit, the whispers, the... I said, I get none of the benefits. So in some respects, it's worse to be somebody like me who's not a lesbian, who's perceived to be a lesbian, because you get the snark and the crap, but you don't get the love. You don't get God. So, I don't know. All right, here's another little story, just in case there wasn't enough to make you feel anxious. You know, I've known people in my life, have you, who are easily made anxious. I remember there was an editor at WTAE TV when I worked there whose wife was so frightened of nuclear war that, like, she was really terrified, almost in a debilitating way. So that was like a real, kind of a phobia. But there are a lot of people like that who are easily made scared. And I'm thinking, if you're somebody who's prone to anxiety and worrying about something, man, these are great times. I mean, there is no end to what you can be anxious about. As a matter of fact, it's a wonder if you are prone to anxiety that you're even functional anymore. And it's why I think we ended the show yesterday saying, thank God for Xanax. But, okay, so on the medical front, turns out, because we're not getting any news anymore, we're just getting Trump, right? Turns out there is a frightening outbreak of some almost impossible to stop bacterial thing that's killing old people in my home state of Wisconsin. The CDC now has a whole ton of investigators running around the state, desperately trying to figure out the source, which is almost impossible since this particular bacteria lives in soil. It lives in the guts of some insects. It lives just about anywhere it wants to. And generally speaking, we do encounter it in our lives, and we fight it off. But apparently, this particular thing, it creates a deadly blood infection, which kills. Now, the numbers don't seem that big right now. They're aware of 44 cases, almost half of which have resulted in death. Most people over 65. And they can't figure out, it's all over parts of the state. There's no relationship. They cannot, for the life of them, figure out what's going on, and they are scared. They're acting like they're not scared, but you can read it in their words. Particularly challenging. This is everywhere in the environment. The risk factors, possible risk factors, are tremendous. They're all over the place in Wisconsin trying to figure out where this is coming from. But I bring it up. I take your Zika virus, or Zika thingamajig, and I trump you with, he's ruined that word too, with this bacterium. And listen to the name of this thing that's killing people in Wisconsin. This is why I brought this up, actually. The name of the bacterium is Elizabeth Kingia anaphylaxis or something. So, obviously, someone named Elizabeth King discovered it. Or maybe Elizabeth King's father discovered it, and he thought, I'll name this after my sweet daughter, Elizabeth. Because if you discover something in the medical science community, you get to name it. Which is why so many diseases have people's names attached to them. I mean, like, why would you want to, if your name was Asperger, why would you want your name to be an illness? It's different if your name's Heimlich and your name becomes something that saves people. But if your name is Parkinson's, right? Parkinson. What do you want that on your... I mean, there's so many of them. I have a condition called Dupuytren's contracture, which screws up my fingers. And why would Dupuytren want his name on it? I've never understood that. Is the ego so huge that, yeah, I want a crippling disease to have my name on it? So throughout the centuries, even after I'm gone, people will say my name. I will be out there. Yeah, but as like a curse. I'm sorry, you have Parkinson's, Dupuytren's, and Elizabeth Kingia anaphylaxis something. So anyway, Elizabeth King, if I were she, I mean, if she's the one who found it, I would say, why the hell would you want some killer bacteria named after you? I can see a star, a flower, even a spore, but a killer bacterium, not particularly. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. Oh my God, look at the time. Well, on this beautiful day, I'm going to try to meditate and get all this out of my head so that I can enjoy the glory that is still a beautiful spring day. Okay? I hope you can too, but I'm telling you, we're fucked. That's all I want to say. In closing, we're fucked. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.